Long before the United States, before the first European ships touched these shores, this land was alive with stories. Stories of hunters chasing mammoths across frozen plains, of cities made of earth and stone, of islands where kings ruled the waves. This is the America you were never taught in school, and it begins thousands of years before the word America even existed. If you think U.S. history starts in 1776, you're missing most of the story. The real beginning is older than the pyramids of Egypt, a time when the first humans stepped onto this vast continent, carrying nothing but stone tools, courage, and the hope of survival. Let's travel back to the very first Americans. Tens of thousands of years ago, during the last ice age, sea levels were lower. A land bridge, Beringia, connected Siberia to Alaska. Small bands of hunter-gatherers crossed it, following herds of mammoth, bison, and caribou. Over generations, they spread across the Americas, adapting to deserts, forests, mountains, and coasts. They learned to read the land, where rivers would flood, where herds would pass, where edible plants grew. These early peoples weren't one single culture. They became hundreds of nations, each with its own language, traditions, and ways of life. They were the ancestors of the Native Americans we know today. The earliest known settlers are called Paleo Indians. They lived at the end of the Ice Age, around 15,000 to 12,000 years ago. They were expert hunters, crafting razor-sharp spear points, like the famous Clovis points, to bring down giant Ice Age animals. Imagine the courage it took to face a towering mammoth with nothing but a spear. But as the climate warmed and the megafauna disappeared, they adapted, turning to fishing, gathering plants, and hunting smaller game. Archaeologists have even found burials sprinkled with red ochre, showing they had spiritual beliefs and rituals about life and death. These weren't just survivalists. They were storytellers, artists, and innovators. Fast forward thousands of years. Some native cultures began building monumental earthworks. In the Mississippi Valley, Mound Builders like the Adena, Hopewell, and later the Mississippian culture created massive ceremonial mounds. The city of Cahokia, near present-day St. Louis, had over 20,000 people by 1250 CE, bigger than London at the time. Its central mound, Monk's Mound, rose 100 feet high, built entirely by hand with baskets of earth. In the southwest, the Ancestral Puebloans built multi-story stone and adobe dwellings, like the cliff palaces of Mesa Verde and the great houses of Chaco Canyon. These were centers of trade, astronomy, and community life, proof that complex urban societies thrived here long before European contact. In the Pacific Northwest, abundant salmon runs and cedar forests supported permanent villages. Here, native nations, like the Haida and Tlingit, held potlatch feasts, grand gatherings of generosity and prestige, where wealth was measured not by what you kept, but by what you gave away. Their towering totem poles told family histories, myths, and spiritual lessons. In the Northeast, the Iroquois Confederacy united multiple nations under a sophisticated system of governance, influencing ideas of democracy centuries before the U.S. Constitution. From the forests of New England to the shores of the Great Lakes, these communities thrived through farming, fishing, and trade, and through alliances that could last generations. Far across the Pacific, another chapter of America's indigenous story was unfolding. Around 800 years ago, Polynesian navigators, masters of the stars and sea, sailed thousands of miles to settle the Hawaiian Islands. They developed a rich culture, ruled by chiefs known as Oli, and lived by the principle of aloha gina, love and respect for the land. They built intricate irrigation systems for taro farming, fished with precision, and composed chants and hula that preserved history without writing. By 1810, King Kamehameha I united the islands into a single kingdom, long before Hawaii became part of the United States. In the Caribbean, the island of today's Puerto Rico was home to the people. They were skilled farmers, fishermen, and navigators, living in organized villages led by caciques chiefs. Their ball courts echoed with the sounds of baiti, a ceremonial game that was part sport, part ritual. When Christopher Columbus arrived in 1493, he claimed the island for Spain, setting off centuries of colonial rule. Yet, Puerto Rico's indigenous roots remained strong. The word Boricua is still proudly used by Puerto Ricans today. This is the real beginning of the United States, a land shaped first by its indigenous peoples. From the frozen tundra to tropical islands, they built cities, sailed oceans, and created cultures that still live on. But everything was about to change. In the next chapter, sails will appear on the horizon, and the world of the first Americans will never be the same.